There we go. It is June 26th meeting of the Los Osos Community Advisory Council. And we're going to call to order with a roll call. District 1, Andrea Luker,
Present.
David Cheney,
Here.
Jim Salio. Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. Gary Katayama.
Here.
Brad Spar.
Here.
I'm here. Deborah Howe. John Lind. Present. Jim Stanfield. I don't see him yet. Molly Brown.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Trisha's not on the council anymore. Okay. So, chairperson announcements. I don't have any announcements this evening. So we'll move on to council member announcements. David Cheney.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that been continuing to work a little bit on the website. I met with Molly. We went over the proposed changes that I'd suggested and generally thought they were good. I haven't heard from anybody else. We don't have a lot of time in this meeting, but I think we'll probably send around something just asking for general approval to go forward and make some changes with the website.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for doing that, David. We really, really appreciate it. All right, so let's move on to county and local reports. We'll start with the sheriff's report, but I don't. Oh, yes, there you are,
Yes, ma'am,
Commander
here.
Abbas. All right, take it away.
All right, Hank Abbas here, commander with the Sheriff's Coast Station, looking at our call statistics for the month of May 2025. We had a total of 458 calls for service as compared to 388 calls for service last year during the same period. Of note were 65 enforcement stops, 37 preventative patrol activities, and 18 disturbances. Just wanted to highlight, I think I mentioned it in last month's meeting about an ordinance update with regards to fireworks and our firework enforcement capabilities with regards to 4th of July specifically. However, it is an update that is going to allow for fireworks enforcement year-round. That ordinance update was passed by the Board of Supervisors last month, and we will be taking effect, or we will be enforcing this 4th of July. Also wanted to note, we had 5 deputy sheriffs graduate from the Allen Hancock Law Enforcement Academy earlier this month, and we will be having 2 of them starting their patrol in training at the Sheriff's Coast Station. So you'll be seeing some of our new up and coming future of the department deputies on the streets here in the next week or so. And that's all I have, unless anyone else has anything for me.
That is great news that you have those graduates. We love to see that. Jim, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I just had a quick question for Hank. Hank, when you give the numbers at the beginning, is that for the entire coast station, or is it for Los Osos only?
So the way the statistics read, if you have the sheet in front of you, what I'm sharing are calls for service that come into the sheriff's office to the Los Osos area specifically. The way our calls come in, it'll break it down basically Los Osos proper and kind of like Los Osos rural, so kind of in towards San Luis, Montana de Oro, into rural Morro Bay. And that's, a call comes in and it's a hang up, it captures that statistic. So that's what I'm referring to when I'm talking about anything that originated in or around Los Osos proper and just outside of Los Osos proper until it reaches like the next jurisdiction's rural area. So obviously I'm not referring necessarily to like Cayucas, because that captures differently in our CAD system. So then of those, I highlight, we pull out some of the relevant call types that people would be interested in, including enforcement stops and mail theft and preventative patrol activities like traffic enforcement stops. So again, the number that I'm giving, it's not necessarily it's not the number of calls that we physically respond to. So again, it's a call that comes in, it might drop right away. If somebody's passing by, they pocket dial and it's hitting a tower in Los Osos or around rural Los Osos, it's going to capture that number as a call, but might not necessarily generate a sheriff's response to it.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you for that information.
Sure.
That's interesting. Okay. James Ferguson, CHP.
Good evening, everyone. I only have one crash that we had to report on South Bay on LOVR. Two vehicles were sitting at a stoplight, and the person to the rear inadvertently accelerated and rear-ended the person that was in front of him. So it's what we call an unsafe start. So the person that they hit had a complaint of pain to their neck and head. However, it's minor injuries at that point. I do want to highlight the upcoming 4th of July enforcement campaign that we're going to have. It starts July 3rd and goes all the way through that Sunday of the 6th. We have 80% of our officers will be working the road that day, looking for DUIs and violations such as, and responding to calls. It's a massive holiday weekend for us. As we all know, a lot of individuals come over from the Central Valley to vacation over here. With it being on a Friday, they parlay that into a full weekend out here on the Central Coast. So we'll have 80% of our staffing on that. I'd like to also highlight on June 6th, we have what we call the maximum enforcement period, where again, we put out 80% of our staffing. Just in the San Luis Obispo area alone, we made 235 traffic stops, wrote 185 citations, and then arrested 8 DUIs. So it's a testament to when we do have these blitz style enforcement days, and then you'll see this over the 4th of July weekend with 80% of those individuals being out there, that we do see action and results from that. So with that said, I'll be happy to take any questions that you guys have.
Any questions? Don't see any hands. Great report. Thank you so much. And thank you for this coming weekend. I know it's going to be busy.
Thank you, guys. I'll be safe out there.
Thank you. Okay, Dan Heimel is not available tonight, but he will be here next month to present the 2024 annual report on the basin, status on the basin. So we can look forward to hearing from him in July. Mason, where are you? There you are. Mason, do you have anything for us?
Hey, good afternoon or good evening, Ms. Howe. Mason Dennings, County Planning and Building. I do not have any items to update the Los Osos Advisory Council on. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mason. Supervisor Gibson, what have you got for us?
Madam Chair, I will let you know that the modern record for an advisory council meeting is held by the Cayuga Citizens Advisory Council at 19 minutes. Part of that was that I was absent, and so that and offered to come, and they declined my my offer. But I don't have anything specifically Los Osos to report. Since we were together last, the county has finished action on its fiscal year 25-26 budget, which will start next Tuesday, July 1st. As you well know, we had to eliminate a number of positions, over 160, most of which were vacant. Of the ones that weren't, most of the current county employees found positions within the county organization. And I think the number of actual layoffs amounts to no more than 10 or so. So it's been a challenging year, more challenges ahead as we await the final action on the state budget and all the craziness that's coming down from the federal level. You know, we buckled down, did what we had to do. We've taken some very deep dive. We took a very deep dive into our health agency. The consulting firm KPMG came in and did a very detailed analysis of process and procedure and whether we're billing the state for all the revenue we could actually claim, and we found we probably could do a better job of that. And we're going to be doing similar big dives on a number of our larger departments. I think next up is planning, but we also have the Department of Social Services and the Sheriff's Office and a number of different spots. Commander Abbas referenced the fireworks ordinance that has been significantly strengthened. The key element there is a social host provision, which means that if illegal fireworks are observed being detonated on a piece of property, the owner of that property can be cited. That's comparable to noise complaints that have been lodged in the city of San Luis Obispo, and to some benefit. So we appreciate the Sheriff's Department, CAL FIRE, a number of agencies stepping up to raise the profile. You know, truth be told, I've not received a lot of complaints from Los Osos over the years. Cambria, Cayucas is the hotspot on the North Coast, and Cambria has a few. So if you do find any illegal fireworks going off, contact the Sheriff's Office, and we'll be interested to see how this all goes. With that, I am more than happy to answer your questions.
Well, I don't have a question, but I'm really glad to hear about the fireworks ordinance, because living here in Los Osos, where the fire risk is so high, we do worry about that. So thank you for that. It was welcome. Anybody else? David?
Yeah, I just wondered if you had any. I know we're going to talk about the Basin Management Committee reports next time, but just wondered if you had any comments. Both to me, both the transient model and the annual monitoring report were a little bit concerning. They didn't show kind of the recovery of the aquifers that I think some of us would have hoped for.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to do. I mean, I'm happy to talk about the most recent Basin Management Committee meeting, which was last Wednesday. The annual report is a look back, and it shows results for what's happened in 2024, and there's a sort of a mixed bag in there, and a few numbers that sort of jumped in unpredictable ways. On any one year's results, I'm a little hesitant to issue issue a conclusion based on 1 year. The trend is, as we've seen generally, headed in the right direction, and that relates then to as you referenced, the transient model. That is an upgrade in our modeling technique. It comes to be state of the art, and that was presented at the Basin Management Committee. Unfortunately, the prime technical expert on that had a health issue and was unable to present that. And as you and at the same time, there were some results of calibrating that model and applying it to the basin, where some rather simple statements were made, and a number of folks who have well-formed opinions about the state of the basin latched on to those. The short answer is the question on everybody's mind is how are we doing regarding stopping and reversing seawater intrusion? And the new model suggested that over 45 years, seawater intrusion may continue to advance to the east. If you look at the details, however, the peer review indicated that the model being used was not set up to fully analyze chloride, which is the salt in seawater, and wasn't ready to be used to predict chloride levels in individual wells. That really puts into question the validity of that simple conclusion that seawater is going to continue to intrude. The other thing that was in the details of that report were some runs showing how the model predicted seawater relative to observations that we've taken in various wells. That's in the calibration tech memo, which is 200 pages of pretty dense stuff. But there's some graphs in there that are really, really key, showing that the model doesn't track the observed amount of chloride in the wells very well at all, as opposed to the overall movement of water in the basin, where it does track very well. So there are a number of issues yet to be resolved there. I had a number of questions of the technical expert that didn't get answered. And so we had a discussion, but I think the short answer is that to that is that there are a lot of discussions yet to go before we understand exactly what that means for our management efforts in the basin.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, at first glance, it seemed pretty concerning. So, you know, it wasn't quite the numbers I had hoped for.
Yeah, I can understand that. Again, there's a long path between understanding that body of technical information and boiling down what conclusion we should take in order to make public policy. And we'll have that conversation as soon as we can get our friend back in the ballgame here.
All right. So are there, Andrea, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I just want to actually add on to that. David, I agree with you. I was concerned as well. And I'm really hoping, since this was presented to the Basin Management Committee last week, I was really, I was looking forward to the presentation tonight. So I am really hoping that we can, at our next meeting, have a very comprehensive presentation on this issue. And I'm sure that we will, but I will just say that it is extremely important to us.
Agreed, Andrea. And that's why we moved this more full discussion to July, as Dan is actually down in San Ynez, and he wouldn't be available for anything more than maybe a 5-minute talk. And I think we needed more than 5 minutes. So stay tuned on that. Any other questions? I don't see any hands, so we'll move on to the CSD report. I see Chris is here.
Yes. Hello. All right. So I guess we're doing weed abatement and inspections. The first round of property inspections has been completed with approximately 300 mailed abatement notices. Follow-up inspections are underway with the second notice of violations being sent out next week. We're being a little more aggressive on enforcement this year because of the changing climatic conditions that we've been experiencing. And if you have any questions or want to report an issue, the best way to do so is using the district's website and clicking on the Contact Us option on the top of the page. We also adopted a budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year at our June 5th meeting. We have 8 different funds. The main ones are administration, fire, water, solid waste, drainage, parks and rec. Most of the funds are healthy in terms of revenue versus expenses for the upcoming fiscal year, except fire. Fire, for the first time in 25 years, is showing a budget deficit caused by the increases in the county CAL FIRE contract. There will be more discussions on the options available to the community on this in the near future. We approved a water rate increase at the July 5th meeting. It's a 3-year rate plan for the district water service area, and the plan calls for modest increases each year to fund the increasing costs of operation and maintenance and replacing our aging infrastructure. I think a lot of our pipes are like 40+ years old, so we need to be prepared. The recycled water connection for Los Osos Middle School is going forward after years of planning. And this will be the first recycled water connection in the Los Osos CSD water service area. The recycled water will be used to irrigate the sports fields and landscape areas around the school. This will offset the use of about 25 acre-feet of drinking water currently used for landscaping purposes. And lastly, the Sunnyside School acquisition update. The district continues to work on an analysis of site and improvements and ongoing operation and maintenance cost, which will inform the districts on what financial support is needed to acquire, maintain, and operate the property. The project team, which includes some LOCAC members, is working hard to put together the information needed to follow up for a follow-up town hall, tentatively planned for mid-August. So contact Ron Munns for more information or go to the district website for more information. And that's the end of my report. Any questions?
Chris, I have a question. Is the community park connected to the recycled water?
I don't believe so.
So that must not be in your water district area.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Sunnyside School is not. So it may be true that the park isn't also.
Ron, I see you just popped up.
Oh yeah.
Is the community park in the?
It's
believe it is, Deborah.
It's Golden State, but it's now underway. The hookups or connections underway right now, that and Monarch School. So we
Got
have
it.
Los Osos Middle School, Community Park, and Monarch being hooked up right now.
Oh, good.
Okay. Cool. I love that. All right, great. I heard somebody else. Is there another question? John?
Yeah, now that Ron's popped up, I'm gonna put him on the spot and ask him if he had any luck talking to the Corps of Engineers this week.
John, I've been meaning to get back to you the last.
You showed up.
Yeah. So I did have the meeting. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Basically, we are in the queue. We missed their work plan for their fiscal year 2026. We're eligible to apply for money in the fiscal year 2027. Finally have a good contact with the Army Corps who administers that funding and actually will take control of the project if funded through the federal government. So I will be asking our board coming up to self-fund the design so we can be shovel ready in case other funding mechanisms come up like Proposition 4, which is a California ballot initiative approved back in 2024. So anyway, we're seeing some light for funding opportunities. I would have hoped we would have been in their 2026 funding work plan, but we missed it by a few months. There's a little bit of chaos in connecting with the Army Corps at the beginning of this year, which resulted in the delay.
Thanks for your efforts.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you both. Chamber of Commerce, Jim Stanfield.
Yeah, real quick. The Festival of Flavors has launched. Eventually, we have. You can go onto the chamber website and order your books. And they'll either be mailed to you, or we have a couple of pickup spots. At least one that I'm aware of. The Right Side Pizza places, and kind enough to be available to hand out the books that are bought. Books are numbered, so they'll kind of tie with your purchase. But go onto the chamber website and get all the information on this. It's really good for the community. It's good for the restaurants, and it's good for all of us. That's the big thing that's underway. Second thing, we're getting very close to a place to hold business. We're looking at some property and details need to be worked out, but hopefully by the next month we'll be able to announce where we're going to be.
Wow.
All right, great. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Any questions on the chamber? All right. So we now have an opportunity for public comments for items not on the agenda. Do I have any public comments? Raise your hand. I don't see anybody, so we'll get going with our next agenda item, which is a presentation by James Worthley with SLOCAG on an investment plan and transportation tax plan. So James, let's see. Why don't you go ahead and try to share your screen and see if that's working. There you go. All right.
Great. Let's get this dialed in. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. Thank you for having me here today. I am James Worthley. I'm the Deputy Director of the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, or SLOCAG. This is our LOCAC's first initiative. We are early on developing a draft transportation investment plan, and we want input from your group, your community members, and everybody around the county. So let's back up just a little bit and let you know that SLOCAG is your regional agency. We serve all 7 cities and the county. Our board, it's made up of all 12 elected leaders, including Supervisor Gibson, 1 from each city council, plus all supervisors. We plan for our region's future, anticipating the population growth and needs in the coming decades. And we primarily focus on transportation, improving our communities by allocating funds. You might recognize some of these projects in the North Coast. They would not have been completed without SLOCAG funding. The challenge we face is that our funding comes primarily from state and federal gas taxes, and that's falling short. With needed projects on the horizon, our ability to provide funds to Los Osos is falling off. Years ago, we saw the coming shortfall. Our adopted plan identified that all investment areas, whether road maintenance, public transit, or infrastructure improvements, it can't be addressed with our current state, federal, and local funding sources. And each year that passes, we fall further behind and project costs rise. Okay, why the shortfall? Let's talk gas tax. Think back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s. More people, more cars, a lot more gas being burned. That meant steady fuel tax revenues, which helped fund road repairs and improvements. But over the last 20 years, things have changed. We saw the rise of hybrids and a push for conservation and increased fuel efficiency. Cars started traveling farther on less gas, which means less tax revenues. Then came Teslas and the EV revolution. EVs are heavy and cause more damage to pavements, but they pay little to the roads. This isn't just a blip, it's a long-term trend. In 2023 and again in 2024, 1 out of every 4 new cars sold was an electric car. That red dashed arrow, that shows the gas consumption trend line from 2009 to 2023, a 14-year trend. It's already impacted local transportation investments. Now, it's good for the environment, it's good for those avoiding the gas tax, but it's bad for sustaining our transportation system. Let's talk about road maintenance. The good news is Pismo and SLO are doing actually pretty well, but not everywhere is so lucky. If you drive on a bad road, you see it, or sometimes you don't see it and then you feel it. And we pay a hidden tax for bad roads and increased fuel costs, maintenance such as a blown tire, suspension, or alignment, and time. The result, it costs way more to stay at a pavement condition index below 60 than it does to stay above 65, but millions of dollars are needed for many of those to reach that. And the county's trend line isn't going in the right direction over the last 10 plus years. Okay, how about 101? 26 years ago, SLOCAG received a $50 million grant to widen Cuesta Grade. More recently, another big grant for a 4-mile stretch in Shell Beach. That's 2 major grants in 3 decades. But what about the rest of 101? There's still no funding to fix the traffic issues in the rest of South County or up in the North County, where peak hour traffic is now even worse than in Shell Beach. And that constant backup at the 46 East northbound off-ramp and the outdated interchanges that look like they did 60 years ago when they were built, we don't have the funds to fix those, and everybody needs to turn towards us to find those funds. Lack of funding isn't limited just to 101 and local roads. It also will hit safety, senior transportation, public transit, pedestrian safety, and regional bike trails. Now, there is always a choice, but doing nothing continues with our transportation funding tied to that red line. Are we really okay with being stuck in traffic more often and accepting the 30 deaths every year that have been going on, seeing our roads get worse and giving our paid taxes to other counties and giving a pass to all our tourists? We already know we have shortfalls for these 3 notable projects. Or if we've had enough, we want to have a say in our future, there is an option too, to do something different and improve transportation in our region following that green arrow funding path, which disappears and goes down to this slide. This looks at the taxable goods that a half-cent sales tax could have raised if it started back in 2009, 2010. In less than 15 years, sales of taxable goods have more than doubled. Now, I adjusted this for inflation because that gold line shows that inflation growth, but more sales added much more than just that of inflation. That's that green line. Tourists play a huge role in this growth, but here they don't pay for their use and impact on our transportation system like they do in their home counties. All of our neighboring coastal counties have approved a transportation sales tax. In fact, 89% of Californians live in 25 counties that have that dedicated sales tax for transportation, but not us. With these funds, they fix their potholes, improve safety, build interchanges, and more, but not us. We all get our formula share of federal and state funds, yes, but our neighbors go further. They chip in an extra 25, 35, even $50 million every year from their local taxes. Then they use that to unlock hundreds of millions of dollars more from the state, grants that we are missing out on. So let's be real, by choosing to not collect $30 million on average each year over the last 9 years, we didn't just lose out on $270 million to fix and improve transportation. We lost out on $500 million in local investment, and we're stuck driving on poor quality roads and not addressing our safety issues. I mentioned grants that we are outcompeted for. SLOCOG wins its fair share of grants, but not our fair share of grant dollars. We can't, not without our own sales tax to leverage our fair share back to the region. BOGO, buy one, get one free. I think we're all familiar with this. But instead of buying one, you get $3, $4, or $5 back for your $1. But to bring $40 million back in a state grant, SLOCOG has to offer up $10 million. And we did that. But recently, Santa Cruz offered up $30 million from their sales tax and won a single state grant of $115 million. Those are taxes we paid that didn't come back to us. What's the cost? It costs 50 cents per $100 on taxable items. But remember, there's no sales tax on housing, utilities, prescriptions, groceries, or services. The cost to a single household or person that spends $30,000 on taxable items comes to about $3 a week. We talked about costs, now let's talk about benefits. This tax is a strategic investment in jobs, local businesses, and long-term economic growth. For every $100 million invested, it creates between 1,000 and 1,500 jobs. These are local jobs for local workers, meaning our tax dollars stay in our community, supporting families and boosting spending at neighborhood businesses. Beyond jobs, it makes our region more accessible, more attractive, more enjoyable, and provides more investment in our active and vibrant downtown areas. If voters approved a sales tax for transportation here, here's what it could do. It would generate about $35 million every single year, growing with the economy and growing with tourism. It'd be protected from Sacramento, and we would deliver more projects faster and cheaper, rather than waiting decades for the next highway improvement. Safeguards would limit it to our transportation priorities and include audits and accountability. We'd finally qualify to get back our fair share of state tax dollars, somewhere between $30 and $50 million every single year. And tourists, yes, would help pay for our roads too. This plan also includes specific investments for Los Osos. Our aim is to craft this plan to fit what your community needs when it comes to transportation. We're starting to create this plan. The sales tax would likely be collected region-wide over 20 years. We aim for a fair and understandable distribution. This is all draft form right now, but this is what we're going to propose to our board as we move forward. Dividing up our county into 4 subregions: North Coast, North County, Central County, and South County, and then distributing the total funding collected based on the percentage of population in each subregion. So with 14% of the population in the North Coast, $100 million is the minimum that would be spent in the North Coast. I say minimum because if we can leverage those grants, we can see those dollars go up and up from there. Within each subregion, we would see some money for regional projects and some money for local projects. The local projects would then be, local dollars would be split between county unincorporated areas as well as the city of Morro Bay. Again, based on population. Now, we're early in this process, but here in the North Coast, here's some of the things we are hearing of what's needed. There's regional needs. You see in the left-hand corner there with Highway 1 corridor improvements, South Bay Boulevard, public transit for seniors, and major trails like the Coastal Trail and boardwalks. If we miss something, we want to hear about it. We're going to have a survey open soon. We're actually here before we have that survey turned on. But at this point in time, we do want to share this information with you. We'd like you to share it with your members and through any channels you might have, whether it's social media, newsletters, etc. We are open to coming to do more presentations at any other groups, such as the Chamber of Commerce with Jim Stanfill. Happy to come to you guys and present the same presentation. But we want to spread the word to learn more at this website. And very soon, we will have a survey tool ready to turn on that people can identify where they think the investments are most needed in your community and how we should spend the money. And with that, I will ask for any questions.
Thank you, James. That was a great presentation. Before I turn it over to any other questions, I just want to make 2 comments. My first comment is when you showed the slide of the other counties surrounding us that have a sales tax, Santa Cruz, Monterey, Santa Barbara. You didn't put Fresno on there because Fresno also has a sales tax. We are surrounded by counties that have this sales tax and they get the benefit of that sales tax, and then they go and parlay that money that they have for matching funds from the state. And as James said, they get 2-3 times from the state what they're putting up. And we can't do that. So I agree, we're missing out. The other thing that I noticed on your slide 19, which is how you divided up these areas, which I think is really smart. Of our area, the North Coast, Morro Bay, Cayucas, Los Osos has the largest population of any of those communities. In fact, we're the 7th largest community within the entire county of San Luis Obispo. So we look forward to getting the benefits of this sales tax if we're able to get this done. Jim.
So thank you. A couple questions. So is this sales tax, would it be only in the unincorporated areas of the county, or would it be city and county as well?
Completely region-wide. So money collected in San Luis Obispo would be dispersed region-wide. So Los Osos would see its population share essentially coming to them, even though it wasn't collected in Los Osos.
So, and that brings me to my second question. In your breakdown of the 4 regions of the county, why wouldn't Los Osos be incorporated with San Luis Obispo and Avila? I would argue that most of our sales tax that we spend as citizens of Los Osos is probably spent in San Luis Obispo.
Good point. Los Osos just has always been smashed in with Morro Bay, I think, for the purpose.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem. I think that's a.
But look, don't forget, when you put yourself in with San Luis Obispo, who's going to get the lion's share of this central county? San Luis Obispo is going to eat up a big chunk of that because they have such a high population. In the North Coast, you guys are now competing for the lions or getting the lion's share because of your higher population of the North Coast. So bigger piece of a smaller pie or a tiny piece of a bigger pie?
Want some of the pie.
The answer is you just want pie, right? You want a piece of pie.
And then my last question is, so what is the process of making this happen?
A long, arduous process, but we're starting where we are, which is collecting information, spreading the word, trying to get other people beyond yourselves. Here we have 23 people online. We need 200,000 people to hear about this. How do we spread the word that, hey, we're falling behind, there's a better way, and this is going to benefit us in multiple different ways? And get them to look at the website to learn more.
So would all the cities have to approve it and the county have to approve it?
To get it on the ballot, SLOCOG has to go through the SLOCOG board first, identify, here's what we'll do. In December, really it's November, but December board will say, here's the draft plan. SLOCOG board will make some changes. They'll say, send it to the cities. The 7 cities will review and we'll have the opportunity to change things because it's a draft plan. And the county board of supervisors as well. In February, crossing fingers, because this is a long timeline issue, it would come back to the SLOCOG board with everybody's, those cities and county input. And if they say, push it this way, push it that way, tweak this, tweak that, steal money from here and put it over there, we would then have a final plan in February for the SLOCOG board to review and approve. At that point in time, we have a final plan approved by SLOCOG board to shop back out to the cities and the county supervisors for their approvals. It requires the supervisors to approve it, and it requires half of the cities with half of the incorporated population to put it on the ballot. So you can't just have the 3 biggest cities. They don't have the 4th city to be half. And you can't just have the 4 smallest cities because they don't have half the population. Our aim is to get everybody happy and have all 7 cities approve it, because that's the way we need to get it through. Because at the end, once it goes on the ballot, SLOCOG's putting on the ballot means it requires 2/3 to pass. That's a very high threshold to get 2/3 of the people to agree on anything. Last time, is 9 years ago in 2016, we put this on the ballot. We received 66.3% support, missing it by 400 votes and change. And what that is, we missed out on 400 votes. We missed out on $500 million of investments. So this time, spreading the word far and wide is the key. Starting early is the key. We are much farther ahead now than we were 9 years ago, 10 years ago. So we're hopeful that this will be, 2026 will be our year.
All right. Andrea, I see your hands up.
Yeah, thanks, James. It's nice to see you again. I was just going to tell you that I've sat through a couple of these from previous years, and I think even it started when I was in Morro Bay, but I have to tell you that the PowerPoint I think you've put together is excellent. It's easy to understand. It's, not really long. So I just want to let you know, good job on that. I think that's half the battle, because I think people just don't understand it. And I think your PowerPoint makes it easy to understand. So good luck with this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Andrea on that. Lynette?
Lynette Tornatsky, Los Osos. That was an excellent PowerPoint. Where will I be able to access it? Because I couldn't write fast enough to get all of that information. And I certainly would like to share it, but I need the PowerPoint. That is one of my comments. And the other one is, where are you promoting this? Like in the Estero Bay News, or where? And that's my questions. Thank you.
I appreciate that question. And let me put that slide back up just so you have it and you can look at it while I answer the rest. Where are we promoting it? We've just started reaching out to groups to say, help us connect with people. Your note of Estero Bay News, we'll reach out to them and see if we can't get some coverage. We'll be reaching out to the Tribune and other newspapers to try to get some coverage so it spreads farther and wider than just the local groups we have connections with and we know that are out there. But we're really asking you to help us, to tell us where you think we should go. Annie Bowski, her email address is up here, abowski@slocog.org. She would love to hear from each one of you with 10 different contacts that she should hit up. And we will hit them all up, whether we're doing a presentation for 4 people or 40 people. We're trying to get in front of everybody. And then the website that you can learn more or share with other people is localroadsfirst.com. Localroadsfirst.com is what we've been using for over 2 years. We've been building that website for over 2 years and trying to add more content that's more pertinent and relevant as we go forward. And I'll double check tomorrow to see if we have this PowerPoint up there also. But as we're working toward that survey right now, and we're working toward a couple other key pieces that we want to add to the website to be more informative for the average person that just clicks on the website and says, "Tell me about it," without, unfortunately, a full formal presentation like this one.
Great. Are there any more questions for James? I don't see any hands. James, I thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And it could not be more appropriate to follow that presentation with one from Tyler English on the Los Osos Valley Road corridor study. This was a study paid for by SLOCOG. And we're going to go through it. Tyler, you have a presentation. I think you can share your screen. And I think you're going to see an example of exactly the kind of thing James was talking about that we would be able to get funded if we had a sales tax similar to one that he described. So, okay, Tyler, take it away.
Yeah, so first, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us here to present the Los Osos Corridor concept plan. There's a few of us who are on the call today that represent our project team. Josh Roberts, the Transportation Division Manager, Errol Godwin, who's led the project on behalf of our consultant, GTS, and then myself with the Transportation Division of Public Works. But there's been a lot of folks who are involved with the project, and we've had a really great team. On the screen, you'll see a QR code. The QR code links to the final plan document. You can also access this through the corridor plan website or via the Public Works website. So I'll linger here for a minute if anyone wants to pull this up, but there's opportunities to download it in other places. Starting off, I wanted to really circle back to the goal and purpose of the plan that we have here. Kind of the goal of the plan itself is to produce a unified plan for Los Osos Valley Road corridor, something that's implementable, that gets buy-in from the community. So we've gone through and consolidated improvements identified under previously adopted plans, conceptualized those, further refined the designs, as well as kind of filled some gaps of places where there were some missing links. And then the goal of tonight, if I can be so presumptuous, is to garner the support of you all in presenting the Los Osos Valley Road corridor plan to the Board of Supervisors and going for plan adoptions. We'd also really like to hear from your preferred alternatives and identifying some of the project priorities. The last time that we were here with you all, we received a great list of comments, which kind of was the nexus of our last plan update. And so taken through the timeline, you can see we've had a pretty nice grouping of events, both existing public events where we went to farmers markets, as well as some special events that we had specifically for the plan. And then, coming here to community advisory councils or the BAC. This is the 10th time that we were at a community advisory council for this project. And so you see kind of where we are here your LOCAC Journal Council meeting and where our next step is, which is Board of Supervisors on October 19th. So for the plan review today, since we have gone through this so many times and we went a little bit in depth on the comments and our addressing of those comments with the transportation group, I really wanted to just stick to the plan segments and go through those. I do have off screen the full set of plans if there's anything that needs to get pulled up and spoken through. But our study area was MDO to the Foothill intersection. Our specific concept plan area was really Rodman Avenue out to Palomino, with a little bit of an intersection design out at Los Osos Valley Road and the Foothill. So one thing that's, if you've gone through and reviewed the plans that may be a little bit different, is I included some little pink stars here. And the pink stars kind of represent the comments that you all made and how we address them in this latest iteration of plan update. So the first one was, and I'm going to pull those up here. MDO to Rodman, the bike and trail has been a long desire of the community and part of the Central Coast Trail Plan. So we don't have that included here on our project. It was, outside of our real plan area, although we do include a cross section of the roadway out to MDO where we show the bike lane. This plan is really focused on the public right of way within the road. And that's kind of been our area of focus. The next one being that push button flashing and crossings for equestrians and pedestrians at Rodman. And so this we have included there. Bulb outs and curb extensions where we've shortened the crossing. And then as part of our capital projects, we have included a push button that would have heights for pedestrians and equestrians. As we continue along, the intersection of Montana and LOVR, that one, the note from you all was that it was a dangerous crossing, and something that we and our consultant team could really agreed with, and kind of normalizing the intersection design here where we bulbed up the crossing, shortened that crossing distance, and really improve pedestrian crossing there along Los Osos Valley Road. The next one being the plan had a crossing at Pecho, which was seen as dangerous, and then in further analysis we really agreed, pulled that out and focused pedestrian crossings of LOVR and more suitable, more safe crossings. As we continue east through town, one of the comments that we had in the last presentation was looking at a crossing directly at the school. This is something that we looked at, and really the 200 feet from the stairwell to the signalized crossing, really there's no warrant for a mid-block crossing here, and we'd like to make sure that folks head over to the stop controlled intersection for crossings of LOVR, and that you all, because we did hear that this is happening, that encourage the community to make the crossings there. It's a better place for everyone to cross. And then I'm showing this next section here, or this last section at the intersection in red, because this is our first area that we're showing a proposed alternative. We have this shown based on some right-of-way constraints. But really in this plan section, the only difference here is where we show the narrowing of the roadway. Everything else is the same. Here we have our first section where there is actually two variations in the plan segments. The top is the proposed, where we have the class 1, the parking, class 2 bike lanes, the road diet all throughout this segment of road. The lower section is where we showed a plan alternative based on the constraints of not wanting to put a class 1 path through people's living rooms. So, you know, we got your input from the last couple times that we met that the priority was the class 1 continuation of the class 1 path, which is what you see here, and then in the cross sections later on the road. So continuing on our pink stars here, number 8, 9. This is where we talked about that crossings at LOVR, crossings of LOVR should all have kind of rapid flashing beacons, and that the crossing at Alexander in particular should have these beacons installed. So we've included that here in the plan. The next area was the turning movement onto Pine. And this is one of the things that we looked at in our swept path analysis. And we looked at both a typical 56-foot truck as well as the bus for its turning motions. And in just a concept level analysis, the buses can make that turn based on the narrowing of the roadway. All right, our next plan segment, again, from the last time that we looked at it, no major changes here other than showing the alternative where we have the full width and the narrowing width. Continuing through town here, maintaining the class 2 bike lanes, the road diet, and then the class 1 path on the north side of the roadway. That gets us towards downtown. Here's where we had a few comments regarding the center medians. We made a little bit of update here. The top is kind of the proposed plan that has the medians, which is called out in the circulation study as well as in the community plan. So we show that originally as kind of leaving Bush open for a left turn. We pulled that back to match the community plan as well as shown a proposed alternative which maintains the two-way left turn lane through town. That was based on the comments that we received from you all last time, where we maintain access to some of the businesses on the south end of the street. We also updated kind of a miss from the last one was just showing the signalization of 10th Street, which is existing conditions. It just wasn't shown correctly there. Again, kind of updates from our last presentation was, showing the continuation of sidewalk gap closures. So from Fairchild to 10th Street, there's a few sidewalk gap closures. We had them shown, it just wasn't very clear. So we, better identified that. And then Fairchild and LOVR was always meant to be signalized. It just, the note had dropped off. So that also got updated. And then our next major update, kind of coming from you all, was from here at South Bay out towards the bridge and towards the end of town. So one of the comments that we got was about making the challenges of making the left turn or through the two lanes of traffic. And, so we showed a proposed alternative here where after the South Bay interchange, where we begin merging the lanes and narrowing the roadway to match what we see out towards San Luis Obispo, where single through lanes headed east-west with a center turn lane. So this we had, because of that narrowing of the roadway, we actually had a little bit to play with there, where instead of just having single, curb gutter sidewalk extension. We show that there on the south side of the road on the top section of plan. We're actually able to include that on both sections, or both the north and south section of Los Osos Valley Road. So that would continue all the way out through Palomino and continuing to the bridge, which is cross section that we have out through town. And then if you were a part of our transportation call last week, we talked about grouping of the projects that came out of this corridor study. So we grouped the projects not necessarily by location, but by type and by how we can go after different levels of funding for implementation. So the class 1 path is going to have different funding sources than the intersection design for Los Osos and Foothill as an example. So the items such as excuse me, curb extensions, rapid flashing beacons, some updates to some striping, we grouped those in a betterments category. The extension of the class 1 path, we grouped that as one major project group. There's some items which after adoption, we're going to put on our roads crew to take on as corrective maintenance, which is, adding some centerline striping to class 1 path, and then painting standardizing the ladder crossing at Bush Street. And then we grouped the construction of the medians as another project. And then when we go to overlay or microsurface and update the pavement condition on Los Osos Valley Road, we'll be able to take on a significant number of these projects, whether that's striping for bike lanes, updating, narrowing the roadway. We'll be able to do a number of those things at one time. So what does next steps look like for us? Again, presumption on my part, receiving your support and taking this to the Board of Supervisors, hearing your preferred alternatives and project prioritization, and then August 19th, seeing some supportive faces at our presentation to the Board of Supervisors. We're going for adoption of the plan, which means we'll be providing conceptual multimodal planning document to aid in coordinating development, implementation of capital projects in this plan area. And then at that point, with an approved and adopted document, we'll be able to seek funding opportunities for implementation, whether that's through our existing pavement management program, through tapping James on the shoulder there at LOCAC, or seeking other safety grants that exist in a number of places. That's kind of our next steps. So if there are any questions, I know you guys have seen the plan. If you have any questions that are outside of the presentation that I had today and would like to go through them, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Well, Tyler, thank you so much. We've been working on this for a while, huh? So I so appreciate your time and your attention to detail. For those on the council who are not as familiar as those of us who are on transportation, I do want to dial back and maybe just working backwards, starting with the Willow Road Diet as an explanation for that. Tyler, if you could pull that up. So as you know, coming into Los Osos, you have a 2-lane road, and then all of a sudden it becomes a 4-lane road. And what we know is that when people see a freeway, they drive like a freeway. And this creates a problem for our senior citizens that live in the mobile home park along this section of the road. So we asked Tyler and his team to really take a look at how can we do what they call a road diet. It's a way of traffic calming, slowing traffic down, having people take their time and not speeding. Because if you're a senior citizen and you want to get to Ralph's, you have to cross 2 lanes of fast-moving traffic, get into the turn lane, and then find your way to merge into more fast-moving traffic. So the road diet, which is what we show here as alternative 1, was a suggestion that came out of our group, our transportation group. I know there are people who want to keep 2 lanes because they'll just get to San Luis Obispo faster, but we get there safer, and certainly we want to protect our residents. So that I just want to start with that comment. The other area, which is the alternative for Los Osos Valley Road between Broderson and Doris. That's a little bit confusing because we have a constraint, which are houses so close to the road that the concept that was originally put forward in our community plan is not doable. There's no way we can have a class 1 bike path here because, as you can see there on the left, it would literally go through somebody's house. And we know that's not going to happen. So how do we get what we want in today's environment without tearing down houses? And so what they've done is they've narrowed the road to allow for that pathway to exist. And so again, they're talking about a right-of-way constraint here, and that being able to accomplish this class 1 bike path. You and I, when I say you and I, all of you know that we see people walking on this section of Los Osos Valley Road all of the time. And so we want to create a safer environment for that to happen. And then, anybody who has any questions about any of these other sections, I know Tyler is happy to talk to you about that. So I'm just going to open it up to council members first, please. I see John.
So yeah, the section you're talking about right now, I'm interested in how you select, because you have 2 concepts in front of you. Are we going to go section by section, and you tell us and we tell you what the preferred alternative is, alt 1 or proposed for this particular section?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what's described, as Deborah kind of stated, what's described in the community plan, the circulation study, the bikeways plan is what you see on the top of the screen, which is maintaining, enough transportation operations for the 2 through lanes and a left turn lane, the class 2 bicycle lanes, as well as a class 1 path. So there is enough, that's what you see on the top. The reality of that is, as you can see, we're encroaching into people's homes. So we had asked at our last few meetings with you all, as well as meetings with the BAC and and others, what is the preferred, or what is the priority in terms of parking, bicycle lanes, and a class 1 path? Kind of what's what's most precious to the community, which is how we came up with the alternative 1, which is what you see on the screen below. So from an implementation standpoint, above the top of the screen is kind of what we hope and dream for. And if there's development of a number of these lots in the future, that's what will happen. But from a short-term implementation perspective, let's kind of target a class 1 path as the priority for the community. And, that's what we show here as alternative 1.
So would you like a preference from this LOCAC committee on, or you're sort of going with alt 1 as a practical matter? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, I mean, so in this case, alternative 1 is absolutely based on from a practical matter, we show it with a class 1 path from the verbal feedback that we received on previous meetings.
Okay.
What we're asking for from you all today is support of the plan. And in cases where we do show alternatives, if that's what you support versus the proposed, and want to note that in your write-up, that would be fantastic. I'll show as a better example of, here at Bush, is probably a better example of where I'm asking for your all's support of an alternative that either can, air quotes, easily happen. The community plan and circulation studies show, the median extending past Bush. We had verbal input from the community as well as from here LOCAC that it was desired to maintain the center turn lane. And so when we, if you all provide the written support of the plan, and this is an opportunity where alternative 1 is supported over the proposed plan of the median, that would be great to include in your, support.
Okay.
All right, Molly.
I would say, of course, I'm going to defer to our transportation committee because they've been very involved in this from the beginning. But I just want to express my appreciation to you at Public Works and other agencies within the county, just for trying to address our concerns. I really appreciate that. So I just want to make that comment.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Andrea.
I think this makes sense, but it's fair to say that the alternates that you're providing tonight are really things that we talked about either at our last meeting or the transportation committee came up with. And I see Deborah nodding her head. So as far as I'm concerned, and I know we're going to continue on in our discussion, I'm extremely pleased. I appreciate you coming back. Thank you for that. Sorry we surprised you last time, but these alternatives, as you describe them to me, are great. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrea. Jim. Oh, you're muted.
Jim.
What is the recommendation of the transportation committee as opposed to this plan? And I'm ready to follow the recommendation of the transportation committee.
Right. Yeah. So all of these alternatives are what was put forward by the committee. This, like Tyler said, this is a perfect example right here. Our experience is that people often turn into the Rexall drugs. There's no way you could turn into Rexall drugs if there's a median there. People would end up making an illegal left turn in order to get to Rexall drugs or to the ale house. And then the other day I saw a delivery truck delivering a beer to the ale house, and guess where he was parked? In the turn lane there in the middle. Well, if there's a median there, he's not going to be able to park there, and there really is no place for a large delivery truck like that to park. So we brought that to the attention of Tyler, and that's how these alternatives came up, by saying, okay, that's not really the best solution. It may have seemed like a good idea back when the community plan was written, but in today's world, that's not going to be a very practical solution. So all these alternatives are what we have come up with as a practical way of dealing with the world that we exist in today. So yeah, you can have confidence that these alternatives are what we recommend. Are there any other, David Cheney, I think you had your hand up. Where's David? David, did you have a comment?
I was really going to make kind of the same points. I think all the proposed, what was proposed in the plan was really something that was in the previous plans. And the only way to put something in this plan that wasn't in the previous plan was to put it as an alternative. So the alternatives are all things that we thought were better than what were in the prior plans.
Perfect. Yes, exactly right. Brad, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, it seems like we're complicating this unnecessarily. Why not just present the plan with the alternatives?
Well,
Since
that's
that's
not
what we
the purpose of
recommend.
the study. Yes, I know it seems like complicated that way. Tyler, you want to explain that?
Yeah, so again, kind of circling back to the goal of, or the purpose of our corridor study was really a reconciliation of existing planning documents. So be that the bikeways, the county bikeways plan, the community plan, and the circulation study, all of those documents, they were primarily text-based. So this corridor study is a reconciliation of those documents. In going through this process, you come up with some areas where, hey, we find there's a better or different alternative, and Josh can probably better explain this than I can. It looks like he's got his hand up, but so that's where we came up with these couple of different alternatives.
Yeah, Josh,
Okay.
you want to, you have a very
I-
good way of explaining this. Go ahead.
I should be unmuted. We're good?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the plan will go forth for adoption as you see here with both the base plan and the alternative. The main purpose here in getting LOCAC's preference is just an opportunity for you to go on record. We would like to someday go forward and put applications out for grants, and it's very helpful, especially when we're looking at an alternative where it wasn't necessarily supported by the community plan or the circulation plan. If there's a road diet narrowing, the class one path and elimination of the class two bike lanes as a, for instance, as an interim project. If there was a adopted community support, that's going to make it way easier for us to put together an application for a grant. And we're basically just being self-serving by finding out we're looking for an opportunity for you to go on record, but then also we can hang our hat on that as we're going forward with making grant applications.
I'm ready for the Transportation Committee to make a recommendation to this body on
Yes.
this matter.
Well, with much confidence, I can tell you the Transportation Committee supports this plan completely with these alternatives, and we look forward to the council supporting it as well.
I move to approve that.
Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
I'll
second.
second it.
Oh. Okay. I have Jim. I heard Andrea first, but I think they were all about the same time. Jim Stanfield. Okay,
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right. There we have it. Thank you.
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
That was great.
And
Well,
so is the next step for us to formally write something that says we endorse it and we endorse the preferred alternatives, right?
that would be great.
All right. I can do that.
Yeah, and then when we go to the board on August 19th, excuse me, be great to see some familiar faces as well. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you all for your time, and for those who are also on the Transportation Committee for putting up with me 2 weeks in a row. So I appreciate it, and looking forward to going to the Board of Supervisors and then coming back to you all with implementation opportunities.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your
Tyler.
work.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
And thank you, James, for sticking around.
Seems like a great plan. I'd like to see it built.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Gotta get that sales tax first, though.
You need money to do a good plan, yes.
That's right.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks all.
so thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to a request from Save Cuesta Inlet for a letter of support for a grant from the California Natural Resources Agency. Andrea, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So Cuesta Inlet, Save Cuesta Inlet is in escrow. You probably know that. We are writing, we're busy doing fundraising, but also writing a lot of grants. We are applying for a environmental mitigation grant from the California Natural Resources Agency. And we are looking for support letters. This grant in particular is basically the grant is awarded to mitigate the impacts of projects. And we are asking the county to let us mitigate or go on record to mitigate the South Bay Bridge project. So we've got the request in for the county to do that, and we're looking at other agencies to write letters of support for us to submit that grant. It's due on the 16th, and we provided you a draft letter, and hope
Yeah,
you're able to
I'll
do
show
that.
the draft letter. Marguerite was kind enough to actually write a letter for us. Looks like this.
Which can be amended however you see fit.
Yeah, I thought it was, you
Gotta be a
know,
little larger. That's helpful. Thank you.
do you want me to read it to you? You guys can read it.
No, read.
Good.
Okay.
We're successful in getting grants from, letters from Los Osos CSD is looking at a letter, a couple of the Native American groups, Morro Bay National Estuary Program, Land Conservancy. So those are the types of letters that we're getting.
So could I make a motion that we approve support of any grant that's being applied for by the Cuesta Inlet Group, Save the Cuesta Inlet Group? That way they can just plug in the grantee, and they don't have to keep coming back to us for a grant letter each time they want to send a grant in.
Great idea.
Sounds like a
Good
wonderful
Good
idea.
idea.
All right, was that a motion?
Yes.
Absolutely. I'll second that.
Okay, the two Jims, Jim Salio and Jim Stanfield, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. I will sign this letter, and then from now on, Andrea, you'll just be able to
Work with you.
get my signature on a letter for a grant going forward.
Thank
And
you, everyone. We'll keep you posted.
yeah, great project, very exciting for Los Osos.
As I
Okay.
read the letter, I was a little confused by the second sentence. It seemed like it just needed some editing. So I would encourage you to kind of read it and edit it maybe before sending it.
Okay, David, I'll check in with you before I sign it. Okay, now let's get into some land use stuff. We have a request by Chris and Chrissy Shalwitz. Am I saying that correctly? Oh, you need to unmute.
Shalwitz.
Yeah.
Okay, for a minor use permit. Jim, are you going to
Yes.
present this?
Actually, Molly is.
Yeah.
Okay, Molly, go ahead.
Okay, so this one came through land use at our last meeting. This is a proposal for a single family residence with a large garage as part of the house. It's on 1304 Napomo Avenue. So it's outside the prohibition zone. I guess you would say it's just slightly west of South Bay Boulevard, but it's on a property that's almost an acre. And it's a single family residence. And I believe the only thing some people in land use had a concern about was what type of septic system it would have. So I contacted Melissa Consuelo of the building division of County Planning and Building, and she does all the septic review for the unincorporated parts of the county. And she and I had a meeting recently about it, because my question to her was, which type of septic system do they need? Is it a regular traditional septic system, or is it an enhanced system, which some people call the LAMP system, which is an acronym? But which type of system it is. So she is actually going to come next month to LOCAC, and because this is I think a topic of interest to a lot of people, she's going to give us a presentation about how these things are determined. But in a nutshell, she kind of explained quite a bit of it to me, and I just wanted to talk to you folks about it, just so you know there's a good, as we know, there's good systems in place to evaluate these things. So first off, when someone wants to build a single family residence in the community here, they're submitting to the building department or to the building and planning, they're submitting a very basic plan. So what we're reviewing in land use is a very basic plan. Once that gets through and is accepted by the county, they get to a point of doing an actual building permit review where they have more involved plans. And it's in that part of the process, after we at land use look at these projects, after that, if it's an area that's not going to hook up to the sewer, then Marissa Consuelo is going to be doing the review for the septic system. And she's going to follow a variety of criteria that's outlined in this LAMP document that the county uses as their guidance document. So the applicant would submit some work that had been done by, a professional company doing perk testing and learning the depth of groundwater in the area. And then some areas of Los Osos, which she'll talk about later, are in these areas that definitely have high nitrates and definitely would need an enhanced treatment system, and some areas are separate from them. So there's all this criteria, but they look at depth of groundwater, percolation rates, average slopes on properties, slopes that are much steeper are more difficult to treat the sewage and have good perk rates than a more flat lot. This is a very pretty flat lot. But they are outside the sewer area. So the bottom line is, in the process of the building department review, that it is going to be sorted out. Right now, there's not a consensus on it, but it will be reviewed just like all other aspects of any kind of building permit. So, and like I say, we will have a very interesting talk by her at our next LOCAC meeting. So,
So Molly, what's the recommendation then from the land use committee on this particular project?
Well, I believe if this is right, Jim, I believe that was really kind of the only reason that some people didn't want to vote on it in terms of going to the consent agenda at the time. So I think
That's correct.
Yeah, I think the recommendation would be for us to approve this project because we don't see any other issues with it. And this one thing that one person thought might be an issue is actually, just to be addressed in the future.
Yeah, it's just something that we're not going to be able to weigh in on at the time we're reviewing it for land use. So we didn't know that at the time. So now we know. And so absent that, we would approve it. And, the county will mandate that the builder put in whatever sewer system is appropriate.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. So do I have a motion? Oh, did you want to say something? Is this your project? I see.
Yeah.
Shaw. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I lost connection. My son's laptop died. I don't usually use Zoom for work, so sorry about that. So I kind of lost where you guys were at. It was something about the septic system. I think Molly was
it's all
talking
good.
about.
It's all good. Molly explained the project, and we're just getting ready to vote to approve it. If there's something you want to say, now's your opportunity to say it.
Yeah, no, I think in the previous LOCAC meeting, I didn't had my soils and my percolation test submitted yet, so they might not have been able to review that because they kind of suggest what type of system to use, I believe, through those two things. And then kind of just one side note, Jim, did your wife teach geometry at the Morro Bay High School?
She was an English teacher at Morro Bay High School.
Mrs. Salio?
Mrs. Salio is my wife, yeah.
I swear she was my geometry teacher. when I was in Morbe.
She doesn't know. Math is not her strong suit. No.
Oh, okay, because I had Mrs. K when I was at Morbe High School in the 90s. Anyways, your name was familiar. Anyway, sorry.
All right, well, that was
Right.
fun. Okay, so we don't need to worry about the septic. The county's going to check that box at the appropriate time.
Right. Okay.
I'm looking for a motion to approve this project.
I so move.
Jim Stanfield, second.
I'll
Second.
second.
Brad Spar. Okay, I have Jim S. and Brad. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimously passed for the project on Napomo. Great. Let's move on to the consent agenda. We don't need to have a discussion on this project, which is a request by Brad Fogel for a minor use permit. This project is on Pasadena Drive.
Real quick, just
Right.
thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
Night.
Have a good
Okay.
night.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Jim S., a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Molly. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, unanimous.
So Terry, it's all approved. Thank you for hanging in there for the whole meeting.
It was interesting. Like so that's good.
Good luck on your project.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
you
you.
bet.
Thanks, Terry.
Bye.
Okay. Now we can get down to our committee business, committee reports. Jim, treasurer's report.
Sure. Beginning balance with May 1 was $1,553.24. Expenditures were $39.17, basically our Zoom and PayPal account. And we have income, $13 interest, and a refund on a charge that they made to us they shouldn't have made of $5. So that our ending balance was $1,519.40. And we've been told that we have a $1,500 grant coming from the county.
Good.
All right, excellent. Land use, you don't have anything, right?
Nothing more on land use. Nope.
We're all
Nope.
good. Trees and landscape.
Real quick, thank you to Jim and Gary and David who helped me with the email. So now I can open my tree and landscape meetings, which is much better. I got over, I had a small temper tantrum about that, but it got better. Tree and landscape did meet. We are going to probably be replacing a couple of the trees at the post office that are not thriving. And that's going to be working with EcoSlow. We're working on that. And then kind of exciting, we have an approved project in the area between the sidewalk and Los Osos Valley Road, right by the Red Barn. That's been approved for probably over a year, but we couldn't start it because they were putting in the reclaimed water. So now that reclaimed water, I think they've got a 45-day schedule on that. Once that's done, we'll be planting in that area. It's super ugly right now, but we're going to make it beautiful. So stay tuned for that. John, did I miss anything?
No, you did good.
All right. Oh, that's a great report. Thank you, Andrea. Very exciting. Well, active transportation, I think you got a big chunk of it already. We have a couple things that we are exploring. One is to take on the Los Osos Baywood Business District. We're going to look for a way to create a business parking area for Baywood. Parking is a problem down there, and we want to make sure we maximize the available space that we have for parking. And we're going to, we ran up against this with a project that was recently passed through land use, which is whenever the project on Santa Maria and 2nd Street, the county wants parallel parking, where now we have straight-in parking. And so we'll be losing parking spaces with that county regulation. Our opinion in transportation is that we're like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Those regulations don't fit us. And if we want to change it, that means we have to create a parking district for down the what already exists as a special district. That's the Baywood Business District. And so that's going to take some work. And so just stay tuned on that because we're going to have to get creative and we're going to have to, figure out ways that we can maximize what we've got down there because things are happening. I just down there and went to the brand new wine tasting bar next to Noise, and that was a blast. So more fun stuff coming for Baywood. That's it for me. Business items, are we ready to go there? Anybody else have anything? Okay, great. Our budget was passed unanimously on an email vote, so we're ready to go for next year. As Jim Stanfield said, we are expecting a check from the county for $1,500 that will boost our checking account so that we can do some outreach, and we have an election coming up. And at some point in the not too distant future, we're going to have a report from that group that's working on elections that's going to tell us how we're going to get that done. Ad hoc Parks and Rec. Okay, let's talk about that. We also created a special committee. It is a combination of the CSD and LOCAC. We have addressed on a 360-degree view of Los Osos, looking where are the opportunities for parks. So we looked everywhere and we evaluated all the opportunities, and we found two major opportunities that are really quite obvious. Sunnyside School, which is everybody knows about, and then also the community park that already exists because there's an undeveloped piece there. It's a little over 1 acre that is available to be. I'm going to pull this up. It's available to be developed. So let's take a peek at this. Pull this up. So here's the existing park, and then if you look on the other side of these tennis courts, there's a plan for 3 more tennis courts and then a volleyball court and some other stuff. So the County Parks and Recs said, well, we don't want you to do anything because we're going to do a study and we're going to figure out what's the best use. And we're like, that's great. However, we need these courts now. Here's a closer look at them. And here, pickleball, yes, the P word. I had to say, I went to the Parks Commissioner meeting on Tuesday and I did this presentation for them because we have a very active community of both pickleball players and tennis players. And they have 3 courts that they share. The condition of the courts are terrible, actually. And it's not a satisfactory situation, honestly. So what we'd like to propose and did propose to the commissioners is that they allow us to go ahead and build at least 2 tennis courts that would be for the tennis players. Now, you would say, why are you building the courts for tennis players? Why don't you just build the pickleball courts over there? Because you can see 2 tennis courts can be converted into 6 pickleball courts. And the reason is this, because that plan that I showed you has already been approved by the Board of Supervisors and the Coastal Commission. If we change one thing, for instance, if we change tennis courts to pickleball courts, we have to go back around and get permission from the Board of Supervisors and from the Coastal Commission in order to make that change. Well, that takes years. It could take 5 years for us to do that. But if we move forward with the plan the way it's written, then we can just build these tennis courts. So we went to the commissioners and we said, this is what we'd like to do. We'd like to build these tennis courts. That way the tennis players will have dedicated tennis courts for themselves, and we'll convert these old ones into pickleball courts. And the commissioners, there's one from each district of the county, they unanimously supported us for that effort. So now we just have to figure out how to pay for it. So stay tuned on how that's all going to come together. Probably it's going to be the pickleball group that is already a 501c3. They'll probably take the lead and go to get a permit from the county to see about building these courts. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're not going to sit around and wait for the county to do another study. Those of you who know Pandora Nash Carter, she used to be the commissioner for us on the Parks Commission. She was there on Tuesday and stood up and spoke because the staff was really saying, why don't you wait, just wait for us to do another study? And she goes, we did a study in 2017 and nothing ever happened. So now it's 2025. Why do we have to wait for another study? Let's just move forward with these. And, you know, I have to say the commissioners agreed with that perspective. So, you know, things are happening.
We're mostly old people in Los Osos, so if we wait for studies, we're going to be dead.
No kidding. No kidding. And you know, and these studies, it's so important to get them right because it's like that corridor study. If we didn't push, and we pushed really hard to make sure that those alternatives were there because it wasn't really what they wanted to do. They just wanted to like consolidate, but we're like, no, 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 no. You can't leave it like this. You have to make it better. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to LOCAC info email. The chair people should have the availability to access the email. Is that correct? Everybody's got that now. Okay, so no more problems getting into Zoom because they're going to send you a code and all that jazz. But the access to the LOCAC info does not include council members. So council members still have to get their information through the chair. So just make sure, chairs, that you're getting that information out to them in the correct way. Please check out the suggested changes to the website that David took a lot of time going through this. They're good suggestions. We're gonna move forward on these website changes. So if you have any interest at all, please take a look at them and weigh in. We'll probably be sending around an email. Yes, Jim.
I just want to go back to the email for a second. So who's monitoring that? I mean, who's cleaning all that up? I mean, there's so much junk email that we get in there. That's your job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I don't clean it up, but I look.
Well, we should delete stuff in there that we don't need to have in there. It gets hard to find things after a while.
Okay. Well, you can delete stuff. I can delete. You guys can all delete stuff.
I think it's a great job for Jim. Sally.
Good job, Jim. Yeah. Take it on, Jim. Thanks.
That's a great idea.
Put it in an archive folder or something, you know, but we get mail from next door, we get mail from the chamber, you know, it's all advertisement and stuff like that. I mean, the item I was looking for was number 1 on the list, and now it's like 20, you know, so.
I've been deleting those.
Have you? Okay, good.
And also I sent out an email to all the committee chairs to send me the emails of their committee members, because I was going to set up groups to make it easier for the committee heads to communicate, and I didn't get one response.
Oh,
I don't think
I wasn't sure we were going to give everybody access to the info. Are we going to give everybody access?
No. If I set up a group, it would say, land use, and you send it to LOCAC land use group, and it goes to all your committee members if they change or not.
Oh, I see. So you were going to set up a separate email for emailing the members.
It's not separate. It's just a group within the group.
Right. Okay.
It'd make it a lot easier for all the for all the committee heads.
I already have a group. I have a group called Transportation, and all my transportation people are in my Google group, and I just type transportation and it goes out to all.
That's what I want to do for the other committees.
So if you want that, Gary's the guy.
I'll get it to you tomorrow, Gary.
Okay, sounds
Gary
good.
is the guy. I personally check the LOCAC email for people in the community asking questions, and then I respond to those people.
Okay.
And doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And so I take that responsibility. But when it comes to deleting stuff, yeah, I just ignore it. I am thinking about, it's not on the agenda, but I'm going to want to get some input. I am thinking about, because we're a member of the chamber, putting our agenda, not the whole agenda, but like presentation from this person, presentation from that person. This is what's going to be on our LOCAC agenda for, they send out an email blast every Wednesday. So the Wednesday before LOCAC, I think I should send out information on that email blast that says, this is what you're going to find on our, happening at LOCAC.
Great
Don't you think
idea.
it's a good idea?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Service
do that.
mail on it.
Also to the all the land use information from planning is now coming to the LOCAC info email site. So it's
Okay.
not just, so I'm getting those now directly to that website or to that email address.
If individual committees want to send, as Deborah is saying, information on the chamber e-blast on Wednesday to announce your meetings, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, we pay for a membership.
Yeah.
So let's,
Service.
now,
And
Jim, do you want me to mention land use items on this? Like, for instance, Napomo, land use item Napomo, or not? How do you feel about that?
Think about it.
I'm not, oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
The other Jim.
No, Jim Salio. Like when I
Oh.
do an email blast, like tonight, I could have said land use on a permit for a house on Napomo Avenue, a permit for a house on Pasadena. Do you want me to say that, or is that just Pandora's box?
Well, I mean, because we're sending you to the descriptions for
Yeah.
that's going on the agenda, so it has the information on there, and it has because I always wanted to include the permit number in case somebody wanted to look anything up on that and review it.
Yeah.
So what I'll do it this way. I'll say two land use permit items will be on the agenda, and I'll just put the link to the website. And if people
There you go.
care about
Great.
that, they'll just go and get it, right?
Right.
Yep.
I don't want to
Right.
start.
Yeah. And we should kind of coordinate. We can put the same stuff on the LOCAC homepage as well as send the same stuff out to the Support Los Osos and the Next Door group. But it'd be helpful to have the content before each meeting to do that.
Okay.
But,
That's not
yeah.
hard to do.
Yeah. Just send the same stuff you'll send to the Chamber of Commerce, just send to me and I can put it up to these other
Okay.
places.
And send to.
Hey.
Okay. All right. That's cool. All right. Anything else on email, website? Okay. Last item before we adjourn. We need a vice chair. And we need it now because I'm not going to be here in July for the LOCAC meeting and somebody needs to run the meeting. So I need somebody to raise their hand or someone to be nominated to be the vice chair because somebody's got to run these meetings and not going to be me tomorrow in July. Okay, don't all jump at once.
Well, I'm happy to nominate Andrea to do it.
No. I'm busy with I'm saving Cuesta Inlet, okay? Come on. But thanks, Jim.
Yeah. I mean, I'd in principle be willing, but I'm going to be out in a bunch in July also. And then also as the most junior and unelected person on the group, I don't feel like I should be the vice chair.
Okay.
Jim Salio, you have great government experience. Come on.
And I've learned not to volunteer for stuff. That's
Oh,
You're being
I'll volunteer
nominated,
it.
Jim.
Oh, we'll nominate Jim.
Yeah, I'll nominate Jim.
I'll
okay.
second.
Okay. All in favor of Jim being the vice chair?
Yeah.
Woo!
Anybody opposed?
And Neil.
Volunteer needed.
Hey, this
Okay,
booth
Jim.
moving.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
You're
you. Yes, I
I
will. work
tried,
with
Andrea. I tried.
I know, I appreciate that. I feel the love.
All right, guys.
I will work with you, Jim, on creating the agenda for July.
All right.
I know we're going to have the lamp presentation from Marissa. We're also going to have Dan Heimel with the basin management report.
And elections.
Yeah, I
We'll
think
have the suggested changes to the, actually, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Deborah, but Jim and Brad and I all met and we've got some suggested changes that'll come back, but I'll send that out before the meeting so everybody can be fully apprised.
Beautiful.
great. All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Great meeting. Thank you all so much. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Deborah.
you.
Yeah, good
meeting.
job.
Great meeting.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thanks.
Bye all.